Welcome to the Diocese of Manchester's Lifelong Faith Formation webpage. Throughout this first year of transition into an implementation of Bishop Labashi's initiative, Restore, Renew, Proclaim the Hope that is Christ, the Secretariat for Catholic Formation will provide a variety of resources and best practices from pastors and parish staffs in the diocese and beyond. We will post them on the Lifelong Faith Formation webpage, and we encourage you to access them and gather ideas that will enrich lifelong faith formation both in your parish and in your deanery.
Hello, my name is Father Phil Pacheco. I'm the pastor of St. Thomas Aquinas Parish in Derry, and today we are going to share with you about our Whole Community Catechesis program. I also have three wonderful ladies that makes this program possible.
I'm Jennifer Charla.
I'm Colleen Strang.
And I'm Sandy Sherman.
So I think one of the things that's helpful to me each year, not just when we look at programs, but even every year when I start the year, I like to sort of recenter myself on the tasks of catechesis, and I think it's a really important it's important to go and think through those tasks to center yourself on what is the goal and how are we going to get there. So the tasks of catechesis being knowledge of faith, liturgical education, understanding the Mass and the sacraments, moral formation, teaching about prayer, how to pray, different types of prayer, education for community life, and missionary initiative. And the goal being ultimately conversion or the formation of disciples of Jesus Christ. So there's also, because in the this sort of context of a whole family program or a community-based program, they also sometimes will talk about the task of family catechesis, which I like to just think about briefly just because I think it sets it on a smaller scale and a scale that feels maybe more manageable. So that might be telling stories, celebrating rituals and traditions, making loving choices, fostering domestic spirituality, cultivating healthy relationships, and then sharing, caring, and serving others. So that's just another sort of angle, I guess, to look at it, but it's all within the same goal, which is conversion or the formation of disciples. So if we go to the next frame, when we talk about there's sort of the old framework of faith formation and then whole community or whole family catechesis, I think that the old framework, it feels very much like school. It follows a similar schedule around the year. There's often programs are usually after school or maybe on Sundays before or after church. Their groups are based on grades, your grade level, and all of the language around it is very school-based. So teacher, student, your workbook, and there's a perceived endpoint, kind of like a graduation. This concept of like confirmation is the pinnacle, then you're done. And I feel like it's this sort of old model. It's easy to fall into a trap of being reduced to this is a subject that we learn, when in reality catechesis is so much bigger, so much more. And so the family or community-based program allows for families to come and to not only spend time together, which I know is a novel idea for many families, to come and and to be together. There's more room for faith sharing, which is intergenerational. So maybe you learn from somebody who is older and who has experienced different things, and that applies to your life in a way. Maybe it's enlightening somehow that if you were only ever with that peer group, you may not have that benefit. And so the whole community or Whole Family Catechesis program, it really resembles more closely, I feel, the model that Jesus, the way that he grew his disciples, storytelling and modeling or mentoring a prayerful life, and to learn about the kingdom of God rather than just the sort of nuts and bolts of the mass or what have you. It's really it's much more involved than just this learning from a subject. And so where we have those opportunities, you also have this sense of community, which allows parents and families to have their decision to sort of raise a family with these beliefs. There's a lot of validation in that. There's a lot of camaraderie in that. And I think that helps all of us build, reaffirms our life to sort of follow, going to Mass every week or having a prayerful life and making it a really a routine that you're a part of. So when we think back again to those lists of, the tasks of catechesis, I think we found that the whole community or the whole family sort of model just lends itself more effectively to accomplishing all of those tasks, rather than sort of what can happen where we get trapped into it's a subject and we're gonna teach about the subject.
You also see a lot of more connection with the families amongst themselves, making friendships too. So it's not just the kids going and making connections with them, but the parents and the kids making connections with each other, which is great.
So I think the next.
Why did we decide to move to Whole Community?
Was that going to be Father?
No,
I think it was you.
when back in 2007, the diocese brought Feed My Sheep conferences to us, and Father Roger Hall was our pastor at the time, and Father Phil was our associate pastor at the time. And they both just jumped on board. We all did. It was just a great program. So we slowly started moving to Whole Community. The DRE at that time, she went slow, which is a good thing. You tried a little bit doing rotations first. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And then we went into question of the week.
Yep, she would start with that 15 minutes up in the church, and the catechist, it was usually 2 catechists, so it wasn't too scary. But we would take that 15-minute slot, which had been set up initially just time for that group to be in the church. We took all of the children at that time, 15 minutes, and we did the gospel reading and the question of the week, and then you do prayer intentions with the children, which is really one of the coolest things. They'll surprise you, but it's really cool because before that, I mean, certainly in classes you can encourage, regardless of the model, but this is just all of the children, all ages, and they're sharing things that they would like to pray for together, and I think it was it's very inspiring.
It opened up prayer to them, and that it can be more than just the Our Father and Hail Mary. So it entertained more ways to pray.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, I think in year 3, we moved to Whole Community as an option. It was an option to the parents, so they could either do the classroom style, and most people stayed in the classroom style. I think that first year, parents, there was a few families that moved to the once a month format on Friday night.
We were a family that moved. My
Yeah.
kids were young at the time, and it was just a different feel that we could all be there together as a family. And I think it brought us all closer. It developed all our faith, and then I got involved in actual helping and coordinating the program. But I think without the initial Whole Community, I probably would have just stayed more traditional with the classroom. So it did open it up for even me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was, I'm not going to lie, I think, something that a lot of parishes go through, when you have change, there's that hit in the stomach. And I had taught the first 2 years in the sort of weekly class format. And then the Derry at the time asked if I would move to this family program, and I had the pit in my stomach. I was like, I don't know if I can give up my Friday night. You know, it was all of that, like, it just, but I realized a lot of that is just fear of change, and I went along with it. And that first year was, it was still, we still based our presentations on the material that we were covering. But the presentations, wasn't as, I would say, tightly planned out as we do now. So sort of that first year, I feel like there was definitely some flexibility, as there needs to be, I think, as you develop a program. But then by the following year, I think we had something, it was like just shy of 100 participants. That includes parents and children. So definitely something that people came on board, and it's sustained ever since.
So it's been a progression. Every year it changes. So the curriculum that we use,
actually the overview first, just to kind
So
of give
a
an
typical
idea.
night at Whole Community has progressed into some grade level pullouts. So what we end up doing is we start with a dinner. It's always important to start with a meal. We bring everybody together, and we have amazing dinners, and we have the family sitting together and eating, and then we move into a whole group, large group activity for about a half an hour, where we do some scripture, we do some activities, we do prayer, we might do something with the what's coming up for the season, and then we break out into grade level, where the parents actually go and they get an adult presentation, and the kids break out to grade level with their catechist. But we don't have the kids just go to a class for an hour. The kids actually rotate through, because on a Friday night they don't want to sit for an hour. They have no idea, no feeling to sit for an hour. So we started rotating them through stations for their grade level. They rotate in the church. They go up to the church for 15 minutes and work with a catechist and their catechist on different aspects of the church, introducing them to what the stained glass means, or showing them parts of the church, or talking about prayer, or different topics. They come down and they also do a craft. We have little 15, 20-minute crafts that go with the season. And we have a lady that runs that and plans out crafts for all the kids. And then they do end up in a lesson part with their catechist, but it's only for about 20, 25 minutes. Enough time to get them, review some of their material, go over what we're talking about for the theme, make some connections for them, get to know them, work on prayers with them. And then we bring them all back, and we usually close with some type of video, some song, prayer. We also have integrated a saint of the month. So we have information about saints. So we usually pull a video in that shows them a little bit about the different saints. So every month they're learning about a different saint that's related to the month. And then now it's getting harder to get the parents to sleep. Before they were all like twiddling their thumbs, like, when can we get out of here? Now that sometimes we have to look at them and go,
yeah,
we
I
do need
literally
to go
got to throw
home.
them out. Like,
But it's
we
great
want
to
to go
see.
home. So it's always, it's just surprising each time we meet, the more the parents are getting involved in it, and the more, I get emails from people that are not parishioners, and they'll say, hey, I work with someone who does your whole community. They speak highly of it. Can we join? So it's been well received.
And making those connections, and then you watch families making connections with each other too, which has been really great.
The other, I was just going to add on to that, the other sort of cool byproduct that we didn't foresee was we've had more teens stay with the program as catechists that we didn't have, it's taken time to get to that place. But what it could be because, a family that has younger children, but their oldest child now is maybe, they're a teenager or whatever, and they're not really in the age bracket for those grade-based pullouts, they'll come to the family night and still and maybe be an assistant or be teaching a class or volunteer in some other capacity for the program, And I think that's a really powerful message also for the younger children when they see those older teens, boys and girls, which I love, being leaders, because then they look up to that and then they say, oh, I want to do that one day. I want to be like him or her. And I think that's really important for a program overall to sustain its growth.
Speaking of catechists, as the director of faith formation, I've been truly blessed, first with Jen and Colleen being coordinators of the whole community. They really put their heart and soul in it, and that's really, you need that. And our catechists, we've worked hard to come to a point where we now have meetings. And again, dinner is important. It always is important. So we will meet, we'll have dinner with our catechists. We talk about what's important to the children, what they feel. And again, our teens, they come, they talk. The boy teens eat a lot. We have to buy a lot of food. But we're truly a team. We all have our red shirts. We're all team members. We don't use the word teachers.
And don't underestimate the power of the t-shirt. I'm not going to lie. When some of those people found out that it was very validating for adults as well, adults and teens, they really were like, oh, I'm part of the team. Yeah, you are. Go get yourself a t-shirt. And you think it surprised me how validating it was.
And it helps the children and the parents too, because we're at, I think we're at 250 people now. We're at our maximum capacity. And so it helps the teens and the parents, the kids and the parents know, oh, there's someone in the red shirt, they can help me. So it really is, and not only this whole community of our parish, where any team member of any, whether it's the children's liturgy, whether it's the middle school ministry, red shirts. We all have our red shirts. Anybody knows that if you see someone in a red shirt, they can help you. So that becomes helpful. Yeah. This year, unfortunately, we've had to incorporate a little, we now wear our lanyards with our picture stating who we are. One of the things that we've done for the safety of our children is we've brought in the Derry police. They did a whole presentation for us. They came in first and walked our building, and then came back with a presentation on how to keep our kids safe. So that was wonderful. So we had to tweak a few things. We don't go outside anymore to get in and out of the church. We'll have people monitoring our doors. The kids will all have lanyards on. The teachers, the catechists all have whistles that need to. So it goes with the times now. But the catechists and the team members, they all fell right in on it.
And we shared it with the catechists. It wasn't like just the directors know it. We brought out so the catechists.
Oh no, they did a whole presentation, for the catechists.
So great. You want to go over curriculum?
Curriculum. We've been back and forth with curriculum. It's a work in progress. We've tried a few different ones. We were sadly at first. We thought FLOM might be a better fit because they're gospel based, and we thought it might be easier for the parents. After a year, or was it two?
2 years.
2 years, we asked the parents what they thought, and they all told us they want Sadlier back, that they felt the books were easier for them. And we do this every year with our parents. We say, at the end, we say, what can we change? What is good for you? What is bad for you? And one of the things was the books. So we've gone back to Sadlier.
But we tried to, there's a lot of ways that you can sort of incorporate the sort of liturgical reading, so I want to say it was last year, there are loads of publications that will sort of help with parents, like I always used to do with my kids. There's some sort of, you read the gospel, there's maybe a couple of things to help you sort of reflect on it, and then maybe a question that you can talk about So that's a tool that we try to encourage with
We gave them
our
books last
families.
year on that.
Yep. So just any sort of tools, we try to augment those opportunities for them to be able to take that home with their children. But ultimately, they felt that the layout and the organization of the workbooks it just felt like more manageable.
Yep,
I think for
and
them
we
to
put
get through it.
in every book, in the front of the book is we tape in the chapters that they're to do at home. When they come back, they hand us their books when they first come in. We have team members who will go through those books while they're eating dinner. We'll make sure that things are being done, and if not, they'll let me know, or Colleen know, or Jen know, and we might approach the family not at that moment, but I might give them a call and say, hey, is there some way we can help you with this? Is there? But we so encourage them not to not come because you didn't get your work done. That's not what we're there for. We don't want to. Things happen at home. We all know that. You got 4 kids in sports and dance and
You name it.
But we did find that the 2 pieces, one being that syllabus in the book, taped inside the book. It has the dates of every Friday night that we're meeting, so there's no like, oh, I thought it was next month or whatever. It's in the book, and then you break it out so that it shows. We usually take out, we've done in the past where we take out the seasonal chapters because that's typically going to be covered in those large group presentation or in the craft. And then so the remainder, those chapters would go onto that syllabus. We break it down. There's a little opportunity to check it off if they want. And then when they come in before dinner, they bring those books over, they pile them up. We also found that having somebody check them, it helps. I've been the parent at home. I've been the one that's like, they're going to check your book. And for some families, they're working really hard to make sure that they're setting aside a time to read those stories or to talk about these things. And if it was really difficult, I think that it's really important to sort of acknowledge that it matters.
we put the stickers
So we
in.
do. We make sure that it's
Little notes. Great
we
job.
were there. Yeah, exactly. And parents have been very appreciative of that.
And the team members have been real good about working with that and getting them done.
Yeah.
So, and again, that's a work in progress too. That wasn't always the case.
Right. Which moves into, is there anything you would change and why? Is that,
Yep.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we've already been mentioning, which is that's sort of the beauty of the program. I don't think there's ever been a year that we have sat back and like, wow, that was perfect.
We always are tweaking it because we want to do what our families need, and families
What is
change
it we're
with
doing
time.
this year new? We're assigned seating.
We're going to do assigned seating so families get to know each other this year.
And that was based on the parent
feedback.
request.
So families don't feel like they're sitting alone in the back. We're now assigning them to tables so they get to know each other and encourage each other.
And when they come in, they know where to go.
We're also trying to bring in more technology games and stuff because they like that competition between the tables and so different things we're trying to address and get in and out of our comfort zone for different things too of how we present stuff because we want to meet their needs.
So within the overall format, I feel like the overall format I think we've kept for a little while now and feel pretty good about it. But there have been things that we tried maybe early on and we go, oh, that we should put that back. That worked.
or we should take that out.
Or just take that out. I think we're good. I think we're good without that. Exactly. But I think that's a really important piece of the program and why it makes it successful is because we evaluate at the end of the year. We try to get feedback from parents or just from the catechists. What's working? What's not? Can we problem solve on this? And collaboratively, we've come up with some great ideas, some really great solutions.
I think the team members, the catechists, we've learned not to be so regimental with what they're teaching. We give them options. Here's the chapters that they're not doing at home. you could do them in the time slot that you have them, or if you feel that there's something in your class that needs to be addressed, maybe you want to do the rosary for 2 months and teach them that, or maybe it's the month of Mary, and so you're going to do something with Mary. So we give the catechists that option of bringing traditions and prayers
and if they're stuck, they ask us for help, and we guide them. But what we want the kids to do is we want the kids to look at mom and dad and go, we want to come back.
Yeah, that's important.
That's a huge thing. We don't want them to
but
be
also
brought in kicking and screaming.
And also, if you have sometimes these lovely cherubs come in and you have your whole plan set up, and then all of a sudden they took a left turn, and they just, I had a second grade class one year. I brought them out to the church, and I wanted to show them just some of the statues. Well, my whole class up in the church was spent, instead they asked, may we kneel at each statue and pray? And I told them what each statue was for, and I was, who am I to say, well, that's not on the list, right? So I think that's another piece, is really trying to empower the catechists that, within the scope of the curriculum for the year and sort of where they're at, that age bracket that they're working with, there are times that I feel like the Holy Spirit moves the class in a way.
Absolutely.
And we have to pay attention to that, and I think that good things come from that, and they're more apt to listen and focus if you're sort of addressing those things that the kids are all on fire wanting to know about, or pray, or whatever it is there.
And I don't know if we mentioned one of the big things that we have is dinner.
Dinner is, yeah.
And we have an amazing cook. And he does not make sandwiches. We have roast beef dinners. We have turkey dinners. I'm talking the stuffing to the end, everything. And one of the great things that he does do is he will not make special food for the kids. We eat together. We eat the same food, and the kids have learned this. And
He learned to trust whatever. He's gotten them to eat parsnips. I said it. And they don't know. And so I think with that comes, there's a certain level of humility and sort of a thankfulness that somebody has prepared a meal for you. And even if you aren't excited, maybe you try some, see how that is. And I feel like he's earned their trust. Again, gotten them to eat
well,
parsnips.
I think it's the hot bread. He serves hot bread, and the kids are always, they know if they eat what they got there, they come back for more hot bread.
But I also want to stress, and I think when we sort of were talking the other day about this, when we first started, we did not have somebody who cooked for this massive group of people. This is my husband, and I said to him, I think this is where your gifts lie. I do. He's always loved to cook, and I said, I feel like, you'd be good at this, and I think you'd enjoy it. And he does. He absolutely enjoys it, organizing all that and getting it all ready at a certain time.
He's really good.
But the point to that being, if you had a parish that didn't have somebody that is immediately raising their hand, sometimes you'll be surprised. We've also had family members who really feel more comfortable in that setting. There was another man who used to help my husband, who that was his role in life growing up. He was always in the kitchen helping his grandmother make food, and for him, that service felt like the right place, and that was the right way to serve the sort of program, and so you say yes. But had I may not have known that, so it's sort of like walking that line in terms of discovering, yes, you have these holes and you have these needs that you have to fill, and there's lots of ways to do it, but also sometimes you'll be surprised, if you put it out there, sometimes, people have those gifts or those abilities that they can hone and are willing, but sometimes it takes being aware
we had
and
a family that
asking.
comes in before we start, and they set up all the crayons and the boxes, and the child is a special needs child, and this is what he lives for. He can't wait to come in, and he can't wait to do this. This is what he wants to do. So you're right.
Yeah.
I think everybody finds their niche We always have volunteers. The parents step up who's going to stay and clean, who's going to come in early, who's going to help serve dinner. So everybody gets a job at some point.
Yeah, I know, I'm playing with it.
So that brings us to Father.
Ooh.
How involved is your pastor? How
Um,
supportive is he? It's amazing.
Well, I'm a big believer in this family faith-based program, but pastors need to realize, or they of course they do realize that a big percentage of these families don't participate in weekly liturgy.
Mhm.
So you won't see these kids on a regular basis outside of the faith formation program. So I think it's vital for the kids to see their pastor at Whole Community, to interact with them, so that they won't look at you as, oh, that's the guy that I see when I go to church on Christmas or Easter on the altar, that he's actually a human being, that he likes to laugh, that he likes to interact with them. And the same thing with the parents, right? Just to build that sense of relationship, because it is relational ministry, whereas you get to know the families one-on-one. It's just a ministry of presence, being there, giving high fives to the kids, interacting, asking them how their day was, sitting down and eating with them, or when we're short-handed, go to the cafeteria line and scoop the potatoes or whatever else needs to be done, help with anything post night, like sweeping floors, whatever the case might be. Truly, to emphasize that we're all community. It doesn't matter if you're the priest or if you're the catechist or if you're the faith formation director, that we all have a role to play in this.
As a director, I find it so wonderful that I can go into the pastor's office and we sit and we talk about it, and he's always got my back on it. He's always willing to, tell me, yeah, that's a great idea, or I don't know, maybe we should try it this way. So it's wonderful to know that he has our backs at what we do.
And I love seeing how the kids just high five, and the kids are comfortable. Because I remember growing up, I was fortunate. My mom worked in a rectory in Merrimack, so I got to know the priests. But for the most part, you didn't. You saw the priest up on that altar, and you didn't go near them. Whereas the kids, I see the kids interacting outside of even just our faith formation. Like when they see him, they high five, and I see parents asking more questions too, and it's just more comfortable when knowing that the pastor's there and involved in supporting the parish.
And I think him just being there, I hugely appreciate the support in terms of like knowing that you have our back and that you really believe in the program, seeing the interactions. But I think just by the sheer fact that you're there, it also conveys to the families and to the children that this is important, and that it's important, so important that you do take time to be there whenever possible, which is most of the time. And I'm always floored when he's picking up a broom. When you're like, there's been a few times
Emptying the trash can.
One of the kids, you're like, go get that from Father. You shouldn't be doing that. But he does.
And I understand that as the years go by, that priests are pulled in a million different directions, and there's less of us. But at least to be there just for even for a little bit of time, just to pop in and interact with the families. It means more than we think it would mean to them.
Absolutely.
To us, yeah.
I agree.
And even just having the kids see and get to know us, being a member of the community myself, I have children in the public school system. So even like the other night, I went and walked up to an open house for my daughter, and all of a sudden I see these kids come running at me because they've had me in Whole Community, and they say, "Miss Jen, you're here." Yes, I am. And they're just like surprised because they make those connections with us, and they are excited to see you outside of the parish or where they know. And it's like, oh, she does have a life outside of the church or wherever you are.
But that relationship transcends. I know this person from this place, and then this person, and those worlds when they blend for kids, I think that they learn too that
It's okay.
it's that's how our belief and our faith should be.
Yeah.
You know, it's not compartmentalized for when you're at
Yeah.
St. Thomas.
So it's been really cool, especially being a public school teacher myself. I have and I teach middle school. So there's kids that they're looking at me when they come into my math class for the first time, and then all of a sudden they realize, oh, they've known me for quite a few years because they've gone through the whole community program. And then they put two and two together, and you just see the anxiety go away, and because they know me from a different place. It's really cool.
I think the only thing that we didn't touch base on was the parents. And while the children go over to the basement and do their rotation, we bring in speakers for the parents. Different subjects. We usually ask the speaker to pick that subject, or if the parents have asked us for a subject, then we'll ask them to do that. But I think it's important for the speakers to come in and not just be us up there speaking. Father will always do one, but we usually have some outside speakers, some from the diocese, which have been wonderful. So that's
And the parents have
important to them.
requested back.
Requested back, yes.
Yeah.
And we always listen to our parents. So,
But yeah, it's great to see people, different walks of life being represented as presenters for the parents. And I think the parents appreciate that. And I feel like they always walk away learning something new, and gets them thinking, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's definitely I've seen a different level of sort of camaraderie with the parents more recently in like the last year, a willingness to participate, to speak up, just a comfort level.
Right,
Which
it
is
is a
nice.
definite comfort level. They have no problems about telling me now, you know, like what's good, what's bad. And before that, I would ask, it would be crickets.
Yeah.
And now it's, hey Sandy, did you think of this? Or what can I do for this? So it's been great. It's been a great journey. And it didn't happen overnight. It took us a
No,
long
it's-
time.
It takes time, investment, like anything, that's worthwhile.
And you can start
Like a
small.
good bottle of wine, as I say, you gotta let it sit. You can't drink the wine right away. You gotta let it sit and then open it up after a few years. So it has to ferment. And that's the wonderful thing about this pro. We've been around. Is this since 2007? Is that when it?
It slowly started
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
2006.
Yeah.
So those
So
are the
you're talking
preliminary.
about over 10 years now of investing in this program. So yeah, this system didn't happen overnight.
So, sort of as a segue that works nicely when we talk about the parents, in terms of suggestions for a program. I think one of the things, I sort of hit rewind on my memory. I think it's really vital for those who begin a program like this to be very aware of what it's like for some of these parents coming in for the first time. They've been part of a model that drops off. Now they're being asked to go inside with the kids. They may not know anyone, another parent. So there's this sort of like, and you don't always know what their sort of spiritual life has been like, what their emotional state is when they come in the door. Thankfully we haven't had that too many where it was super apparent, but you always, you can see there's, for some people, that underlying anxiety, because they don't know, this is a different form. Are they going to make me,
Are they going to make me talk?
and prayer has, I think for so many of us growing up, prayer, like for me, prayer was always very sort of, very, very like private. Like we didn't do like prayer communally. Yes, we said grace together, but we didn't like share our prayer intentions out loud. So this at moments has different types of sharing or discussion as small groups, or opportunities to reflect. And for some people, you have to understand that that's going to feel uncomfortable. So some of the things that we did, I would say we stressed, especially in the beginning, but we sort of try to remind parents that when they come in, always a sense of welcome, that you're happy that they're there, that the goal for each year is growth. I used to tell my parents, I don't want to see you raise hands. I'm not going to say raise your hands how many people go to Mass. Like, that's not for me personally to judge. I want you to set your intentions and your goals, and the goal for the program is that you experience growth, some sort of growth as a family, as an individual, that you grow in your faith, that you grow in knowledge, grow in community. And I think when you sort of make that invitation clear, the other thing I also like to make very clear is I spent a lot of time as a sort of teen, young adult, not knowing the nuts and bolts of the faith, and my mom taught faith formation, and I could have asked a million people, but like it got to this point where I was so embarrassed that I didn't know the answer that I was afraid to ask. And I've shared that with many families and said, we're not doing that. We don't do that here. Like, leave it at the door, because this is where we learn. And if we can't learn here, then what good is it? So it's been really very cool and liberating when you see them do like a scavenger hunt in the Bible. And there are parents who are learning how, for really the first time, effectively, how to look up passages. Maybe they were taught once and forgot, or maybe they never were taught.
I've watched kids
And
go and show adults
that's really
how to look
cool.
up passages in the Bible, and they just all help each other.
So we try to really stress that, permission to sort of just be wherever you are in your journey, and don't compare it to anybody else, including us. You don't know anyone's story. You don't know anyone's struggles or backgrounds, but just be where you are and seek growth in the community. And I feel like that's really created a positive vibe amongst the
And some organization
parents.
skills that help, just if you're looking to work on this program, having like attendance cards, and just maybe a trifold that they have some ways to communicate with you, who the teachers are, when the meetings are, just so they can have a resource they can pin up on the refrigerator. One of the big things is using the families as volunteers. Get them to sign up to donate some of their time to set up, clean up. So it's not just, at one point, we didn't have anybody signing up to volunteer, and I looked at them at the end of one night and I said, guys, I really need all your help to start signing up for volunteers, because I don't want to be here till 10, 11 o'clock at night cleaning up. And all of a sudden, out of the woodwork.
We've never been there that late. But-
Really?
Not if Sandy's around. Sandy's
Not if Sandy's around.
Woo.
We're out.
But all of a sudden, parents start saying, okay, where's the sign up? Let me help, because they want to be part of it, and they want to bring their kids. and
They're
they
happy to
wanna-
help. Yeah, it's just a matter of.
It's not just a program we run, it's for everybody. And it's great to see everybody help.
It is. There's a lot to Whole Community. One of the books that we would recommend, if I could say his last name. How do you want to try? The Handbook for Success in Whole Community Catechesis. 23rd Publications puts it out.
There's also a smaller one. I don't know what the differences are, but it's a little bit different. But
Right.
it's the same cover, same appearance.
Great book, great information.
resource.
Almost goes step by step on how to do Whole Community. So that's one of the books that the three of us have read and got it all dog-eared. And of course the National Directory, and we use that to go through for the 6 tasks of catechesis, or questions. I was just actually looking at it today and going through what my job's supposed to be, and I was like, oh, I did not know. So they actually tell me what my job is. So we do recommend those books, and of course we're always available if anybody needs.
If there's resources that we have refined, there's attendance cards. If the family comes in, we've now stepped it up. We add a little picture to the attendance card, so that as the family got bigger, or the program got bigger, we can look to those as a reference point, just to help us learn names. But like those attendance cards, or things like the trifold that Jen mentioned, it sort of has, it's one-stop shopping. It has, this is the program, these are the expectations of the program, these are the catechists, phone numbers for the office. It's just all in one thing. They get it at the beginning of the year, and then it goes there. Any of the syllabus material, kind of how we do that. Any of those types of materials, or any of these like bulletproof type, bullet note type lists, we're happy to share.
Yeah,
And
we'll share anything.
anything that you guys could benefit from.
So, and anybody's welcome to come and contact us if they want to see a whole community night and how it's run. They can contact the parish office and see how it's going. Some of the things that we tweaked, we talked about a little bit, but this year we're bringing in a theme for every month, Works of Mercy. So we're going to have scrapbook pages of all the families' names hung on the wall. And we're going to encourage them to do Works of Mercy and then go put their stickies or labels or whatever we have up on their scrapbook page so we can see what families are doing throughout the year.
And Father's letting us keep them up on the wall so that's even better.
And then we have, we're going to keep our saints in the hallways, like as they're going in line to eat. And even if you don't have, if you're nervous about having a big formal dinner, it's wonderful to have a big, like they have like all the food, but you can do pizza, you can do sandwiches, you can keep it simple. You don't have to be overwhelmed by providing a piecemeal, a beautiful.
I just wanted to
We've
point out,
just
he
been
didn't
blessed.
start that, I mean,
Elaborate.
but
He
it's something
enjoys
he's
doing
grown
that.
into, and that's a gift that he has, and it's a good fit for him.
So there's a lot of different options. You just have to be willing to try to adapt and change. Maybe start small, not try to do it all at once. And if there's ever any questions, you can call
Give
us.
us a call.